In 2016, Ryan Reynolds was just another actor. Sure, he was a famous actor, beloved by millions, but to most people, his success ended there. Fast forward to 2021, and that very same Ryan Reynolds had sold Aviation Gin for $610 million and Mint Mobile for $1.35 billion. Suddenly, the world saw him in a different light. He wasn't just an actor anymore, he was a bona fide business mogul. But the burning question remains, how did a man with zero business experience build a billion-dollar empire? To answer that, we need to take a step back and look at the path Reynolds took, one filled with creativity, wit, and an unwavering sense of authenticity. Born in Vancouver, Canada in 1976, Ryan Rodney Reynolds grew up in a typical middle-class family. His father was a food wholesaler and his mother worked in retail. Nothing about his upbringing pointed to future stardom, let alone the success he would eventually achieve in business. As a teenager, Ryan found himself in front of the camera, landing a role on the Canadian teen soap opera 15. It wasn't a glamorous start, but it was a start nonetheless. For much of the 90s, Ryan's career was defined by small roles and near misses. He found steady work in sitcoms like Two Guys, A Girl, and A Pizza Place, but stardom remained just out of reach. He wasn't the breakout star Hollywood was banking on yet, but through it all, one thing remained constant: Reynolds' persistence. Even when the parts weren't perfect, he kept showing up, kept auditioning, kept working. He was a grinder, something that would later serve him well in the business world. Ryan's first real breakthrough came in 2002 with the release of Van Wilder. The raunchy college comedy made Reynolds a household name and introduced the world to his particular brand of quick-witted, sarcastic humor. He was funny, charming, and instantly likable. But there was a downside. Hollywood quickly began to pigeonhole him, casting him over and over in similar roles. He was the funny guy, the charming slacker, and nothing more. For a while, it seemed like that's where his career would stay. But Ryan had bigger ambitions. He didn't want to be boxed in. So in the years that followed, he pushed himself into more diverse roles. He showed his action chops in Blade Trinity and proved he could carry a romance in The Proposal. And then came Buried, a claustrophobic thriller that saw Reynolds acting solo, trapped in a coffin for 90 minutes. This was a turning point. It proved that he had the range and the talent to do more than just comedy. But despite these roles, the industry wasn't fully convinced. That was until Deadpool came along. Ryan had been lobbying for years to get the film made. When it finally hit theaters in 2016, it was a massive success, grossing over $780 million worldwide. But what made Deadpool special wasn't just the box office numbers. It was the fact that Reynolds wasn't just acting in the movie. He was producing it, shaping its creative direction, fighting studio executives to keep the film R-rated and true to the comic's irreverent tone. In many ways, Deadpool wasn't just a role for Ryan. It was his first real taste of entrepreneurship. You see, through the process of making Deadpool, Ryan realized something. He wasn't just an actor. He was a creator, a visionary. He could take an idea, a project, and shepherd it from concept to completion. And that's when the business bug bit him. As Reynolds approached his 40s, he began to look beyond Hollywood. He saw other celebrities turning their fame into businesses. George Clooney had done it with Casamigos Tequila, Dr. Dre with Beats by Dre, and Jessica Alba with The Honest Company. Could he do the same? Could he leverage his creativity, his humor, and his public persona to build something bigger than himself? In 2018, Ryan made his first major move into the business world. He bought a stake in Aviation Gin, a small craft spirits company based in Portland, Oregon. But this wasn't just another celebrity endorsement. Reynolds wasn't content with slapping his name on the bottle and calling it a day. He threw himself into the role of creative director, shaping the brand's image, its marketing, and its voice. The spirits industry is a tough one. It's dominated by massive companies with deep pockets and years of experience. Aviation Gin was a small player in a crowded market, but Ryan had a secret weapon: himself. His approach to marketing Aviation Gin was unlike anything the industry had seen before. He didn't take himself too seriously. In fact, one of his most famous ads humorously claimed that the gin was made from his own tears. It was ridiculous, it was self-deprecating, and it was exactly the kind of humor that resonated with audiences. What Reynolds understood, and what many seasoned business veterans often miss, is that in today's world, authenticity sells. People don't want to be marketed to, they want to feel like they're in on the joke. And that's what made Ryan's approach so effective. Every ad, every social media post felt like an extension of his personality. He wasn't selling a product, he was selling a story, an experience. And it worked. In just 2 years, Aviation Gin went from a relatively unknown brand to a household name. By 2020, the brand had grown so successful that Diageo, one of the world's largest spirits companies, bought it for $610 million. But even as the ink was drying on the Aviation Gin deal, Ryan was already onto his next venture. In 2019, he acquired an ownership stake in Mint Mobile, a low-cost mobile virtual network operator. And once again, Ryan didn't just lend his name to the company, he took charge of its marketing. Where most companies would have spent millions on flashy commercials, Reynolds opted for something different. He made low-budget, self-produced ads that were hilarious, relatable, and most importantly, effective. In one memorable campaign, Ryan took out a full-page ad in the New York Times, telling consumers that Mint Mobile was saving money by not advertising during the Super Bowl. It was clever, it was cheap, and it worked. Under Reynolds' guidance, Mint Mobile grew rapidly. His approach to marketing wasn't about slick production values or big-name directors. It was about connecting with people in an authentic way. His ads were often shot on an iPhone, featuring his signature humor and relatability. And once again, people weren't just buying a phone plan, they were buying into the Ryan Reynolds story. By March 2023, T-Mobile announced it was acquiring Mint Mobile for $1.35 billion. Just like with Aviation Gin, Ryan had taken a small, scrappy company and turned it into a major player in its industry. And he did it all without any formal business training. But Ryan wasn't done yet. In 2020, he teamed up with fellow actor Rob McElhenney to purchase Wrexham AFC, a struggling Welsh football team. To many, this seemed like an odd move. Why would a Hollywood star buy a fifth-tier football club? But for Ryan, it wasn't just about football, it was about storytelling. Reynolds and McElhenney didn't just invest in the club, they invested in the community. They filmed a documentary series, Welcome to Wrexham, that chronicled their journey as owners, turning the club's struggles and triumphs into a compelling narrative that fans around the world could follow. Once again, Reynolds wasn't just selling a product, he was selling a story. And just like with Aviation Gin and Mint Mobile, it worked. By 2023, Wrexham AFC had won promotion to League Two, returning to the English Football League for the first time in 15 years. What's remarkable about Ryan's journey is that he did all of this without a formal business education. He didn't have an MBA. He didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. What he had was creativity, wit, and an understanding of how to connect with people. He approached business the same way he approached acting, with a sense of humor and a willingness to take risks. But perhaps the most important lesson from Ryan Reynolds' story is that authenticity matters. Whether it's gin, mobile phone plans, or a football team, Reynolds has consistently shown that people are drawn to brands that feel real, that don't take themselves too seriously, and that offer something more than just a product. So how did Ryan Reynolds build a billion-dollar empire with no business experience? The answer is simple. He stayed true to himself. He didn't try to be someone he wasn't. He leveraged the same traits that made him a successful actor, his humor, his relatability, his ability to tell a story, and applied them to the business world. In the end, Ryan didn't just build businesses, he built stories. And in doing so, he built an empire. He didn't follow the traditional rules of business. He didn't need to. He wrote his own script, and in the process, he showed the world that with the right mix of humor, hustle, and heart, even an actor with no business experience can become a bona fide mogul.